this isn't the U.S. talking. First of all, you need to understand that this is a transactional president talking, who is, I mean, the first of all, let me just say, as an outsider with no vested interest in, Iran's nuclear program, if this brings peace, please. I'm not in Iran. I'm not here to tell the Iranians what to do or not to do. And if they want to, if the Iranian government and the Iranian people say, yeah, this is what we want to do, I will applaud the Nobel Peace Prize being awarded to Donald J. Trump. I mean, if his transaction can bring peace to the Middle East, where no other president has been able to do so, wow. But the problem is, that's like me reading Harry Potter and saying, I want Hogwarts to be true too. I think it's really cool that they have this school of magic and dragons and stuff. I mean, I wish that was true. If only you could buy your way out of the Middle East problems. And this is what Trump's trying to do across the board, because I'm pretty sure you're going to be talking about some other Trump initiatives soon. He thinks he can actually take a checkbook and buy his way out of issues that deal with sovereignty, national pride, national security. And remember, I mean, this is a guy, as Garland rightly pointed out, he lied to them. Straight up lied to them. And not just a simple little white lie. Hi honey, how's my dress? Love it, baby. No, I mean, those kind of lies make life go easy. He told a lie that resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Iranian generals, hundreds of Iranian civilians. An attempted, the Israelis today admitted, I mean, I was shocked. Their minister of defense. Yeah, we tried to kill Khamenei. We tried to do that. Yeah, we wanted to assassinate. It's okay. It's not a big deal. And well, yeah, kill a national. It's all right. Yeah, we tried to do that. And that was, remember, Donald Trump was like, we know where you live. We know where you're at. So that meant Trump was trying to kill. The Iranians can't trust the United States. They can't trust any of the actors that were involved in this Pearl Harbor time. This is like saying that Emperor Hirohito could come to America on January 7th, 1942. Say, open up forget about Pearl Harbor. Forget about Corregidor. How big of a check you need me to write? We'll just make it all go away. You think the American people go, oh yeah, sure. Why not? No, America and Israel committed a Pearl Harbor type event against Iran. And I just don't, and this is, it's this, you also have to remember the genesis of this is when the United States in the 1979 told the Iranians, yeah, we don't care that you're a signatory of the NPT. Yeah, you can't have nuclear power. The whole nuclear program is a big middle finger to the United States, not a nuclear weapons program, but the nuclear program. What it says is you can't stop us from doing that which we're allowed to do. You can't deny us the right to this technology. And it's technology that we mastered ourselves. This is an Iranian solution. This is our national pride. And now you want to open up a checkbook and make it all go away. I think Donald Trump's New York real estate crazy.
And let me add that. If I'll put it to you like this. You come to my house, and when I drive right out here to the main road, I think it's out of the community, 35 miles an hour. That's like you coming out to me saying, Garland, I'd like to do a deal with you that allows you to drive 35 miles per hour on that road. The speed limit is 35. I can already drive that. I don't need a deal to drive 35 miles an hour. That's what the law allows. So you're going to make a deal with them to do what international law already says they can do after you tried to kill them. You're not going to try to kill me twice. The second time, you're going to have to be real sneaky. But the first time, yes, what are you going to do? Hey, Garland, it's going to be like the old Bugs Bunny cartoon where he would have like an X painted on the ground and a piano hanging over top of it, and he try to coax somebody to stand on the X so he could drop a piano. Really? You're going to, sit right here, Garland, in that chair so we can negotiate. Why is that piano over my head? Oh, we just want to listen to some music later. I don't think so. I think they're going to try to kill me as soon as I went to the, by the way, who are you going to get to volunteer to be the negotiator? What happened to the last negotiator? They killed him. You ain't going to find anybody in that country that's going to take a suicide mission to go negotiate with these lunatics. It makes no sense to me.
Well, let me ask this: how in
Scott,
the
you
world?
want to be the negotiator, Scott? How about that? They'll pay you well.
How are they going to even convince that? So, what is Donald Trump going to say to his base, like after he just told them that Iran was dangerous and they can't have a nuclear program? Now it's, oh, by the way, I'm trying to work out this deal with Iran to let them have a nuclear program. Scott?
I don't know. I mean, the base, Trump continues to attack Barack Obama for the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the first nuclear deal. Part and parcel. What I love about the American people, and this is love in quotations because this is like the kind of love that you don't mean, is that we are truly some of the dumbest people on the planet about the world we live in. Truly. And anybody in the chat room that takes offense to this, look in the mirror and look at stupid staring you back if you believe Barack Obama gave the Iranians billions of dollars of American taxpayer money so they can go build a nuclear program. You guys do know that we stole billions of dollars from the Iranians in 1979, seized their assets illegally, that they had paid us for destroyers. Go look at the USS Kidd, the one that the best destroyer in the United States Navy at the time. You want to know why it was the best destroyer in the United States Navy? Because it was built to Iranian naval standards, not American naval standards. So it was like really good. The Iranians gave us the money for that. But then there was the overthrow of the Shah. And we said, you ain't getting this destroyer, even though they paid for it. You ain't getting these airplanes, even though you paid for it. We stole all their money. And then it sat in a bank, and then we started giving it away to people who filed frivolous lawsuits. And the Iranians said, as part of the deal, you got to give us our money back. Our money, not your money, our money with interest. Because ain't that the rule? You hold on to somebody's money, you put it in the bank, the interest isn't yours, it's theirs. So Obama did that. And the idiots, the stupidity of the right-wing base of America, and frankly speaking, even the left wing, because hardly any Americans got it. Why are you giving them money? It's their money. We stole it. We're giving it back. And so, when you have people that stupid, fundamentally stupid, imagine how you're going to feel now going, well, wait a minute, Trump's now literally opening up an American checkbook. Well, actually, what Trump is saying is that he's going to help them find $30 billion. It's not going to be American money. That maybe the Saudis will pay for it. Maybe somebody else will pay for it. But he'll find that money. I don't see the base doing that. And the other thing we tend to forget is this isn't just about the nuclear. One of the big deals is it's the largest state sponsor of terror in the world. It's not, but we call it that way. We got a whole bunch of Americans running around with prostheses saying, I was in southern Iraq in 2005 when an explosively formed projectile hit my vehicle and blew me up, and I lost my arm because of the Iranians. No, you lost your arm because you were in Iraq after illegally invading and occupying it. And rather than blaming the Iranians who live right next door, coming in to help the Shia kick the invader out, why don't you turn to your government that sent you there to begin with? You're blaming the wrong people. You know damn well that if an invader came up to your borders, you'd be out there fighting them. You'd be helping them. If the Chinese invaded Mexico and Mexico said, help us, you'd be helping Mexico repel the Chinese invaders. So we invaded and occupied Iraq, and the Iraqis turned to the Iranians and said, help us. And they did, to defeat the invader, which that way you were. But no American wants to admit that. They all want to pretend they were over there flying Old Glory, bringing democracy to the Iraqi people. There's just a whole bunch of stupidity wrapped up in the United States about Iran. Garland, I heard you talking about the U.S.-Russian summit, where we're trying to overcome Russophobia by having Americans talk with Russians and identify them as real people. Do you know that some of the best people in the world are Iranian? I'm talking about salt of the earth people, cultured, educated. They will take the shirt off, literally take the shirt off their back. They will take the food off their plate. I've been to Iran. I can safely say that 99% of America hasn't. I know these people, not this way I know the Russians, but I'd like to. These are good people. And we sit there and we say the most horrific things about, you know why they shout death to America? Because in 1953, we overthrew the democratically elected government of Iran, Mossadegh, the prime minister, because he just refused to say that Iranian oil belongs to the British, and he nationalized it and said, no, it belongs to Iran. And the Brits went, no, no, no. And the CIA went, no, no, no. And they overthrew him, put the Shah in. And then they spent the next 3 decades helping the Shah build a secret police, the Savak, who tortured and murdered and suppressed the Iranian people. And then when they overthrew the Shah and they took the embassy, they got the documents that we shredded and they pieced them all back together again. They've published a great book with all the CIA documents that document how the United States worked with the Shah to murder the Iranian people. And now you know why they shout death to America. But death to America is a slogan. It's a sort of like a patriotic slogan of, we shall overcome kind of slogan. It doesn't mean death to America. If it did, then they wouldn't have treated me the way they treated me when I was walking the streets of Tehran or Kashan or any other of the cities that I went to. No, they don't hate Americans. They love Americans. And I'll just say this one last thing too. If there was a natural disaster in Iran today, you could pick any city you want, mudslide, whatever. Unless you have family in Iran, no American's going to pay attention to that. They won't, even if it made, page 14 at the bottom, one line, disaster in Iran, 400 people killed in mudslide. Flip the page. We don't care. When I was there in Iran, I was sitting in a restaurant minding my own damn business. And a family came up to me crying. And they said, we are so sorry. I said, what are you sorry about? Well, apparently there was a flood in Houston and some people got swept away. And they saw it on the news. And they came and they saw that I was an American. They said, we're so sorry about what happened in Houston. I went, I don't even know what happened in Houston. They know more about our damn country than we do. And their hearts are so big. So the ignorance of the American people about the Iranians is just manifest. I've been saying, I will continue fighting Russophobia. But I think it's time we start fighting, I don't know what to call it, Iranophobia, the phobia of Iran, the ignorance of Iran. We have to do the same thing, Garl. We got to cut through this nonsense so that stupid people in America start realizing how stupid they are, because it's this stupidity that allows this nonsense to take place. If the American people understood who the Iranian people were, understood the truth about Iran, they would not tolerate for a moment the policies that we're implementing against Iran.
That's 100% spot on. I had a couple of students that were from Iran, and to be honest with you, it was almost impossible to get them here because of everything they had to go through at the embassy just to come here as a student. This question I'm going to ask to both of you. Thank you so much, Daniel. Can you ask Scott about the damage done to Israel? I'll ask both of you. Let's start with you, Garland. How much damage do you think was done to Israel by Iran?
A couple of things. There's 2 kinds of damage, right? There's the physical damage, which was damage that it's unprecedented because, Israel throws some bombs maybe or something back and forth with some people, but they never really get hit by serious warheads. And they took a lot of hits. They delivered some, but they took some. And here's the difference. Iran's 78 times bigger than Israel. Israel has 1 major airport. I think Iran has 29. So here's the bottom line. If they punch 1 for 1, Iran wins because it's so much bigger. If they both lose at airport, Iran's got 28 left. You know what I mean? So the point was, yes, Israel got some punches in, no question, but they're so small that they can't take a lot. The other part of that, this is what really devastates Israel. Iranian people, as you know, they kind of have come together, which is, I would say, part of their culture. They felt like somebody was attacking them. They come together. They get stronger. They supported a government that some of them might not even support it. Okay. You know what a lot of people did in Israel? They went back to Brooklyn. They went back to New Jersey. They went back to Moscow, right? If, in fact, the philosophy, as I understand it, if this is correct, the philosophy of Israel is basically this. Look, you're Jewish all over the world. You got to come to here. Why? Because it's safe. There's anti-Semitism all over the place here, but it's safe here. When you lose that philosophy and most of your people have dual citizenship, it's human nature. They're going to go back to where it's safe, number 1. Number 2, the second half of their philosophy that was blown to pieces. And they do this deliberately. everybody around, all these crazy, insane Muslim people around us hate us for no reason, and they all want to kill us. I got problems with that, but let's just say they make that argument, which they do. But they can't, because we've got escalatory dominance. Oh, they want to kill us all around us, but we're so powerful they can't touch us. Number one, it's no longer safe. I'm a lot safer in New Jersey. Maybe not much, depends on which part of New Jersey, but you get my point. I'm a lot safer in New Jersey than I am catching Fatah missiles, coming in, number one. And number two, if you're telling me that everybody around me wants to kill me, but we're so militarily powerful that they can't, and that has a hole poked in it, I think that Israel's in real trouble philosophically, because so many of their people have another option. And if you got a wife and 2 kids in a minivan, you're going to go back to where they ain't going to get a bomb dropped on them, where there's no chance of it. I think Israel's in very serious philosophical trouble as far as how it survives and maintains credibility as, quote, the Jewish state.
That's a good point. Scott, what do you think about the damage that was done to Israel from Iran?
Let's just, before I answer that, I just want to put this in a proper context. Israel carried out a surprise attack against Iran that had no justification under international law. It was an act of aggression. Judge Jackson, he was a Supreme Court justice at the time, who became the lead prosecutor in the Nuremberg tribunals of the Nazis, said that a war of aggression is the ultimate war crime, because from that, all other war crimes take place. So let's not talk about Israel. Let's talk about the perfidy of Israel, the surprise attack, the criminal action of Israel, who then compounded it with cowardly attacks against sleeping civilians and attempted assassinations of heads of state, a decapitation strike. So when I start this way, I'm going to answer your question. How much damage was done to Israel? Not nearly enough. Not nearly enough. Israel needed to be punished tenfold for the crime that they committed. The crime that Israel committed is a crime that nation states should not be allowed to walk away from. This is a kind of crime that requires the elimination of the government that was behind this perfidy. But the problem is, an American saying that means we have to eliminate my government. And of course, constitutionally, I can't speak of doing that unless we do it through the vote. But, because we were guilty as Israel, we wanted this. Our president bragged about this. He bragged about the complicity that he played in setting up this surprise attack, the perfidy of getting the Iranians to believe that there were negotiations, so they lulled into a false sense of complacency so that this decapitation strike could be. He bragged about knowing where Khamenei is, meaning that he was part and parcel of the assassination attempt. How much damage was done to Israel? Not nearly enough. Israel needed to cry far more than they did, but the damage that was done, which is still classified, by the way, the Israelis won't talk about it. They still lie about the numbers because the truth is to expose the frailty of the system. The fact of the matter is, it was Netanyahu who was on the phone crying to Donald Trump, pleading for this war to come to an end. Netanyahu. I'm pretty sure Khamenei was not on the phone asking old Donnie Boy to stop the fight. The Iranians made it clear midway through this. They said, if Israel stops attacking us, we'll stop retaliating. Okay, they just made it clear. If you stop attacking us, we'll stop retaliating. Which I think underscores the point that the Israelis were hitting pretty hard. I mean, we could talk about what the Iranians were doing to Israel all day long. And they were hitting them hard too, harder than Israel's ever been hit, hard enough to make Netanyahu cry. But Israel was landing solid punches too, and Iran was hurting. The Israelis, they had a 10+ year intelligence operation in place, over 1,000 operatives, each of whom had, more than a dozen drones. That's 12,000 drones that are flying around assassinating people that they've been following for 12 years, taking out air defense and other sites. They hurt. They knocked out the air defense. The Israeli Air Force was able to have virtually free range over Iranian airspace, dropping big bombs on targets, hurting the Iranians. The Iranians continued to fight. They didn't surrender. They didn't quit. They didn't give up. But let's not think that the Iranians weren't really, really badly hurt. I mean, they're hurt so badly that their foreign minister has to say on national TV, yeah, they destroyed our nuclear facilities. They hit them hard. So I think the Iranians needed this fight to end too. And they were very happy to have this fight end when it did, because even though you can talk about continuing to fight to break Israel's back and all this kind of stuff, the Iranians were two punch drunk fighters. Neither one of them wanted to answer the bell. And we're very happy to see the fight get called early.
Colonel Douglas McGregor said that it was 1/3 of Israel that was destroyed.
That's
I don't know, but I'll say this: the problem Israel has is that it's small. So a little bit of damage goes a long way because it's not that big. So they couldn't really take it. And as Scott and I talked about, there's the physical damage, there's the moral issue here. As far as Iran's concerned, any country, and I've learned this, and the more I've learned about geopolitics, like for instance, something would happen and somebody would say, well, why didn't Russia go help Syria more, right? And when you learn geopolitics, here's what you learn. The government of Russia has 150 million people that they're responsible for first. You know what I mean? There's certain responsibilities. Okay, you're the government of Iran. Whether you want to fight Israel, continue it or not, your people are getting killed. Some of your people are getting hurt. The government, because you heard, and this is what I hate, people who are armchair quarterbacks. And I understand, but I saw people like in the chat on my show and different things. No, Iran shouldn't have stopped early. They shouldn't have kept fighting. Well, that's easy to say when bombs are dropping on your community and dropping on your nation. So the leaders of Iran had a responsibility to the people of their country who, some were being injured and killed, regardless of who was right or wrong, to try to stop violence against their citizens as quickly as possible. And I think they responded as best they could. They got attacked. They fought back valiantly, right? They delivered some punches to the enemy, which people weren't expecting. And then the first opportunity they got, they were able to cease, violence against their people. Here's my opinion. The government of Iran acted responsibly. They defended their country as best they could. They delivered some punches to the enemy. They took some punches and kept on fighting. And then when the opportunity came to provide safety for their people, they took that opportunity, wherein the government of Israel was irresponsible. No matter how much angry I am at the Zionists for all the terrible things they're doing, the government of Israel had a responsibility to keep their people safe. They subjected them to incoming missiles night and day because of some crazy idea that they had that they were going to illegally strike somebody first. The government, for all this, the mullahs are crazy. They're a crazy theocracy. They're nuts. They're insane. They acted responsibly in protecting their country and looking out for the safety of their people. And that's all I can ask. I think they did a good job. I commend them.
But they didn't just act responsibly, Garland. They acted in total conformity with international law.
Good point.
This is a game changer that, I get into this with a lot of people, because I talk about international law all the time and the importance of international law. The same way I talk about the importance of the Constitution. And you have people, the Constitution matters. They make up their own rules and all that. Constitution matters. It's the only thing that matters as Americans, because without it, we aren't a constitutional republic, and we could call ourselves Canadians or Mexicans or something, but we're not Americans. Americans are defined by the Constitution. It's the thing that holds us all together. International law, the United Nations Charter, is important. Well, the United States doesn't obey it. It doesn't matter why have a law if you can't enforce it? Because it separates the good people from the bad people. And over time, that matters. For all the people out there who are like, if I said the American hegemon is in decline, yeah. Multilateralism is on the rise. Yeah. Do you know what that means, guys? No. What it means is the Americans who believe in the rules-based international order, they're losing. The rules-based international order was sort of, guys, what you're saying. Just make it up as we go along. International law doesn't matter. The multipolar guys, they believe in the law-based international order. That's the United Nations Charter, the rule of law. They're winning. Why? Because over time, good triumphs over evil. international law matters. You have to have a framework around which we define society. Now, there could be elements in that framework that are behaving poorly. America, Israel, they will get segregated out over time. Iran behaved perfectly in accordance with international law. They did everything right. They condemned the action. They went to the United Nations, said this is a clear violation of Article 2, Paragraph 4. They said under Article 51, we're declaring a right of self-defense. And everything they did was in self-defense. Never once did they irresponsibly expand the conflict. Everything was done right, to include the fact that once the imminent nature of the threat is removed, they stop fighting, which means they set the standard. Stop attacking us, we'll stop retaliating, which is what international law requires. People reread the Charter of the United Nations. Why would we do that? Because you're Americans? Because the Constitution, the Supremacy Clause, states clearly that when the President of the United States signs a treaty that's been ratified by majority of the United States Senate, it becomes the supreme law of the land. That's what the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution. We voted for the United States Charter, signed it. That means that we're bound to that charter. It is an extension of our law. And it says that you can't go around invading and bombing countries. But we do it all the time, yes. But you know who doesn't? Iran. They're the good guys here. And this is bringing Iran into the fold of the good guys, the multipolar people, the Chinese, the Russians, the Indians, BRICS. International law matters. And Iran is the victor in this conflict because it did the right thing throughout. You know who didn't do the right thing? America, Israel, Europe. But Iran did.